2026 is going to be an awesome year. We got some pretty cool stuff coming up. First off, we got Foundations of Recovery. This is our flagship program. We're starting it in January.
This is for anyone, man, woman, or couple who wants to come and reclaim their heart from shame, trauma, and betrayal. We start off with an education on all sorts of principles, give you the common language. We feed you from a fire hose in terms of all things recovery.
It is such a great start to recovery. And we get at the roots of things, Tyler. This isn't like any other program. Like, this is our healing journey in process, and Foundations is where we begin.
If you look at the value that you're getting there to kick off a good recovery with all of the right education, all of the right language, and a team to get you started while also being directed by Brandon and myself through the whole process, what a deal.
So if you're interested, if you're struggling, if you've been wanting to do something for a long time, jump into this. This only comes around every so often, and we would love to have you there.
Click the link in the description to sign up for it. And to make it even sweeter, we're also including a raffle for a free pass to the Radiant Dawn retreat. Anyone who signs up for Foundations will be added to the raffle for that free Radiant Dawn pass. If you're a man and you sign up for Foundations, your name still gets entered, and you can give that pass away if you win it to any woman that you want to.
So what you're saying, Tyler, is if you sign up and participate in Foundations, you could possibly go to Radiant Dawn for free?
That's exactly what I'm saying, which is crazy because Foundations by itself is already an insane value.
Man, I sound so salesy. But it actually is awesome. So come to Foundations. And even if you don't come to Foundations, sign up for Radiant Dawn. It's beyond therapy, the best healing experiences that you can have.
Click the link below and come join us. Am I a bad person, or is it just my addiction? Welcome to the Real Talk Recovery Podcast with the Therapy Brothers.
We're brothers, we're therapists, and we know recovery.
Bring your stories, your questions, your successes with real recovery.
Hey, Tyler. How's it going, man?
Good, man. How are you doing?
Good. I was just thinking how I wish I could live the good life like you.
What are you talking about? You're the one who only works 3 hours a day.
Where are you going on Wednesday?
We're actually fortunate. We're going to we're taking a trip to Hawaii with our family.
Man, life is rough, man. Didn't you just get back from the Wind Rivers in Texas?
It's summertime. We've had a little bit of traveling lately. It is. We're really fortunate. We got a good life, and we get to take our kids. Every time one of our kids turns 18, we take them on a big vacation. So that's what we're doing for our
You epitomize work hard, play hard. Like you live that principle to the max.
I should probably play a little bit more. I think I still work too much.
Yeah. That's awesome, Tyler. So I hope you have fun. That's
Thanks.
You know how I feel about Hawaii. So
you lived there. You talk about the good life. You lived there for several years. So
I know, and it was the good life.
Yeah.
So, well, enough about the good life. Let's dive in with Andrew here. Andrew, welcome to the show.
Hi.
Thank you for having the courage to come on. Really appreciate you having you here today. If you could just give us a little bit of background, tell us some things that have been going on in your life, in your recovery, and give us some context, and then ask us any questions that you have.
Okay. So I have been married now for 6 years in October. We've been together for about 8. And the entire time I have been dealing with a porn addiction and an addiction to looking at real women in real life. And that all started, I don't even know when. I mean, high school, middle school for all of that. And then it just seemed innocent and natural, like growing up. And then, high school, I had some relationships and rejections and all the normal stuff, and started some depression then, and starting to feel rejected and alone, even when I was with church friends and groups of friends. But I never really felt like I totally belonged anywhere. even when I was in a place where I had everyone that loved me, and I knew that they loved me. And, my childhood was good. After the past few weeks of doing some research and soul searching, I can pick and choose some events here and there that kind of led to me having an avoidant personality and depression and feeling inadequate and all that. And then in college, the porn use increased. Had a long distance relationship and then some other relationships here or there, but it never necessarily caused an issue that I knew of. And it wasn't interfering in the ways as like physical and mental stuff. After college, I had a relationship with a girl who was pregnant when we met, with not my child. And I was around for about the whole first year of his life. And that's when I can think that I started using porn to escape and medicate for this fact that we didn't communicate, and she and I were not having sex at the time because of her just having the baby. And then, so you fast forward a few years, and that was around 21. I met my current wife when I was 25. And at that point, I had just moved to a new city, took a huge pay cut, was living with people I used to know, and was just miserable and lonely. And she was established, had a great career, secure, beautiful, smart. And I was broke and lost and depressed, and had the biggest ego with nothing to really back it up. There was like no reserves backing up the dollar. It was just all based on, it was all propped up and fake. And so when we decided to become a little more serious, and she actually then friended me on Instagram. And at that point, I freaked out and scrubbed my Instagram of all the other women and everything else that I was looking at. We got in a huge fight and broke up, where she realized I was texting somebody else. It seemed like I was going to go cheat on her. And then we broke up, and a few days later, we worked it out and got back together. And then I ended up moving in because I got kicked out of where I was living, not due to this, but just because of other issues. It was my boss's house and it just wasn't working. So then she knew about my porn use at the time, and it wasn't necessarily a huge issue. We both watched porn and it was okay. But then it started to creep into me ignoring her physically and sexually, and me, because of all of my emotional issues and negative self-image and insecurities, I would avoid having sex with her and avoid being intimate with her, or just close and vulnerable, because I just felt terrible. So then eventually it got to the point where I started having difficulty maintaining, keeping erections. And so we realized that, okay, well, she realized like this is an issue. This is me watching porn. And then we tried a few different options for me to stop, or me only use it when she wasn't going to be home, as opposed to an almost daily use. And then eventually it got to the point where it's like, I have to stop. I have to stop altogether. And that was around the time we got engaged. And so since 2016, I haven't watched porn videos or acted out, but I have been hiding and lying that for the better part of 6-7 years now, I've still been looking at other women inappropriately in public. I've been lying about that in the past. And then on and off looking at Victoria's Secret magazines that she would get in the mail, but I would put it back in the mailbox and pretend I never checked the mail. Scrolling through Netflix titles just to see something that was revealing or promiscuous. And then about 2 years ago, right around when so this was 2020, we were selling a house, moving into a 1-bedroom apartment with our son and 3 dogs while we're building the new house, COVID. And then she got pregnant, and she works at a hospital. So she was going into work at the hospital while pregnant during Delta and height of COVID. And all of that, that's when I started to go on my phone to look at what I'm now realizing was porn, but it was news articles of celebrities in bikinis and lingerie and their posts and everything that goes along with that. And so over the past 6 years, and so that had gotten worse and worse over the past 2 years. And the whole time my wife was being triggered from her PTSD from the first time around of my porn use and hiding that. And I would argue and yell and get so mad at her for asking if I was using porn and watching porn or doing anything that we had both decided and agreed upon was not appropriate for our marriage. And I would just get so defensive and so angry and yell so much when she knew something was going on. And then about 2 weeks ago, so I guess it's 15 days ago, she had me listen to your guys' podcast about, I think it was, why are we afraid of our sexuality or something along those lines. And she texted me and said, if there's anything that you need me to know, let me know so I can brace myself for a disclosure. And something about her sending that way, just that night, I started telling her. Now it came out over a whole week. So it wasn't just this snowball, or there wasn't just this like tidal wave. It was this, I don't remember what it's called, but it's the death by 1,000 cuts, just that trickle over the past week. And so now it's been about 15 days since I've been listening to roughly 2 podcasts a day from you guys or a different source, and doing a Bible study to 30-day porn addiction study. And I'm looking for a support group, and I'm starting therapy on Wednesday. Here's the kicker. This is what makes me think that I'm just a bad person. The whole time, the past 3 years, I had been going to therapy to treat my anxiety for my erectile dysfunction during sex, and never once mentioned anything to my therapist that I was continuing and starting to use porn again. So I hid and lied to my therapist and my wife the fact of what was happening, and most likely prolonging all of my issues. So It's been our whole marriage has been pretty much just a giant lie and gaslighting episode.
Okay. So, and in all of that, the common theme that you've come to the conclusion of, at least right now, is that the only common denominator is that you suck as a person as a result.
Yeah, I'm going back and forth right now, but it's when it swings that way, there's a lot of what I feel like is evidence to back that up.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, it makes sense. Our brains could probably find evidence for that in your story. Our brains could probably find evidence for something else in your story too, depending on where you wanted to put the focus in your brain. But it makes sense. It makes sense that you're feeling a little bit, sounds like you got anxiety, you got some depression, you've got a lot of shame, it sounds like, inside of you. And when those things are all meshing themselves together, it's pretty easy to come to the conclusion that you do on the negative side.
Can I ask further question about that? Andrew, where and why are you a piece of crap husband? Like, how have you failed as a husband?
My wife pretty much asked me for one thing our whole marriage. She doesn't really ask him for a whole lot. She doesn't ask me to make more money. She asked me to be honest with her and not sexualize other women. And that's pretty much all that she has asked, is just to be honest and to not look at porn, not sexualize other women, and not choose them over my relationship and my commitment to her.
Okay. What does that mean? Like, what do you not sexualize other women? I understand the not looking at porn. But what does that mean, being honest with her and not sexualizing other women? What does that look like?
To me, it's not going to the playground with my son and then looking at other moms and being like, oh man, they're really hot. Or if I go out to the store and a woman is wearing a crop top and short shorts, like not thinking about her being hot, not thinking about her being sexy, and walking down the aisle, seeing it, and then averting my gaze out of respect for my addiction, respect for my wife, knowing that someone is there, but not treating them differently because of how they look or because of what they're wearing, like understanding what they are and who they are, but not giving it more attention than I would give to a guy with large muscles that I might envy, or my mom or someone else. And to me, I just feel like that's a sign of respect to my wife, is to, especially with my history, is to not sexualize a woman for my own personal dopamine spike, my own personal benefit.
Why can't you? Why can't you look at a beautiful woman and just look at her like a man with big muscles, or like you're looking at your mother?
I feel like I have not been able to establish a limit on myself like that. And I haven't had, so for me, it feels like it's been this almost voyeuristic as opposed to just acknowledgement. Like I can look at my kids and say they're really cute, and I can look at somebody else's kids and say those are cute kids. But when it comes to other women, it pretty much has always been looking at, it's been an objectification.
So yeah, but that's Brandon's question, Andrew, is why? Like, why is that taking place?
I feel like it's kind of what's always happened. And I don't know if it's similar to why I used porn, because I felt less than, I felt rejected. I felt like if I just look at another woman, then I'm not going to have to give anything of myself. And I feel like I have nothing that's worth giving. So I can receive something, but not have to put myself out there to actually get anything or to give anything and risk anything.
I think this is where it gets all screwed up a little bit. And Andrew, I'm hearing I'm wondering about some past trauma that you've had or something, but I'm hearing some anxiety and trying to be perfect and trying to be good enough for your wife, and constant self-rejection going on. And what happens is you try to apply more self-rejection to be better, and it actually sends you down the road of disconnecting from your wife more, disconnecting from God more. But I'm going to say something, and it's triggering and hard and difficult for a lot of people to understand and a lot of people to grasp. But the pathway to freedom is through acceptance and through integrity. Okay. Integrity is about being whole. It's about owning who you are and staying in form with who you are. Andrew, as a son of God, is built as a sexual being who's attracted to women. Okay. Andrew, as a son of God, has attraction in him, sexual attraction. Okay. Now you've taken that and you've run with it, and you have objectified women, and you've used women for your selfish needs, right? When you go to the park and you see a hot mom, are you doing that? Is that just attraction? Is it so what I'm trying to get to is, your recovery starts with you accepting yourself wholly and accepting your sexuality. Okay. And for your wife to also understand, like, hey, that's part of who he is. And I know that he can bridle those passions, that he can manage those things, but we're not going to try to reject that sexuality in order for him to be okay and good enough in our marriage, right?
And so that's one of the areas which we are trying to navigate differently this time around, as opposed to squashing everything down and pretending that it's not there or forcing it out, which I think we tried the first time, is don't even look at another woman. Don't even think about it. It's understanding through listening to your podcast that there will be some urges, there will be some things, but being honest about, hey, this is what I'm feeling, recognizing what I'm feeling, and then not acting on anything that would be what I consider inappropriate or acting out.
Can you be perfectly okay with the fact that you have that attraction and not act on it at the same time? Can both of those things coexist? Like if I go to the park and I see a beautiful mom at the park and I'm like, wow, she's beautiful, I'm sexually attracted to her. I definitely notice how beautiful she is in a sexual way. And I'm going to stay faithful to my wife. I'm not going to lust. I'm not going to run in the bathroom and masturbate right now. I'm noticing my sexuality. My sexuality is so good. It's such a part of who I am. And wow, look how I automatically have that attraction to women and to that woman. And I choose to be in a faithful relationship with my wife. So therefore, I'm going to accept that, but not act on it. Can that coexist?
It makes me feel anxious and uncomfortable to think that would be how it would be.
Right.
Sure. I can accept that I would have some urge or notice a woman is in a bikini if we're at the beach. But it makes me feel uncomfortable knowing that it makes me uncomfortable knowing, okay, that woman is any list of adjective describing words. Because to me, it feels like, while I know I'm a sexual being and sex from God is good, it feels to me like, as someone who is especially not in any form of real recovery right now, I'm just starting with this. To me, it feels like if I look at a woman and see that she's wearing something revealing or that she is hot, then that's like taking a sip of alcohol, but being like, I'm going to stop with just one. Yeah. So it is very scary and very.
The problem is that the problem, though, Andrew, is this is different than alcohol. What's the difference?
I mean, I understand that it's not necessarily a substance that I could just like stop using. Like, women are all around in the world. I feel like I'm not at that place right now.
That's what I'm hearing.
I hear you too. I hear that. Tyler, do you have a comment?
No, I was just saying, I don't want to detract you from where you're going, Brandon, because I want to go a little bit of a different direction that's still going to the same place I think you're going, but I don't want to cut in if you want to keep.
No, I mean, I am illustrating a point with this conversation I'm having with you, Andrew, which is, it really is a dialectic that's hard for people to grasp both sides of. And so when I say it's okay to have sexual attraction to other people other than your spouse, I've gotten more hate mail about that comment that I say than anything that I ever say. But what I know is that when we are honest and we accept our sexuality and what's going on inside of us, that's when we have real power to step into being in control. When
it opens up choice.
Yeah, it opens up choice and consciousness and clarity. It actually it's this backwards thing of I'm going to white knuckle my way to sobriety till eventually I crash and burn, and then I'm at the strip club again, right? Or I'm just like totally, and so you notice your sexuality, you notice the this, but the beautiful thing. Wow, there's my sexuality. Interesting. Why am I attracted to her? Huh, what does that mean about me? Okay, on with my day. And I'm going to choose not to lust here, right? And so how long, Andrew, have you been hiding something about who you are as a sexual being? From what age?
I don't know, probably 20-ish years, something like that. Since like
a long time, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. You learned to hide a long time ago.
Your sexuality has been just hanging out with shame for most of your life. So it's hard to be able to say, hang on here, like I associate sex and shame in the same thing, and secrecy comes as a result of that. So how do I not put shame to my sexuality, accept it, and live a life of transparency? It's a much different system that can actually build trust in a healthy relationship, where the system of fear and control and trying to force yourself will never get you guys there in terms of safety and trust in your relationship. So, all right, Tyler, now I'm curious about...
This is going right into where I wanted to go with you. Maybe just do a little exercise with you here, Andrew, along with what Brandon's saying. It's targeted at the same place. Is it okay if I ask you a few questions?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this part of you that hides, this part of you that looks at porn and objectifies other women, and when you look at that part of you, how do you see it? How do you feel about it?
Shocked and kind of disgusted. Like it feels like a different part of me. I mean, not in a split personality or dissociative way, but it just feels like it's not who I am 100% of the time. But for the past 7 years, I mean, daily, that part of me has been a huge factor in my life and in my marriage. And so
that's beautiful, man. And it's okay. Like, you're not split personality. This is going right where I want to go with it for a second. Okay. So let's just take a look at that part that you're shocked and disgusted by. And if you were to like actually approach that part with real curiosity and ask it, what purpose it's serving for you and what it might want you to know, what comes up for you?
I'm afraid to know the answer and find out the answer. I feel like I get this pit in my stomach of just like, I don't want to step close enough to find out what it says about me.
Okay. Well, that's not necessarily what it says about you wholly. We're just looking at the part and asking it some questions. Could you maybe ask it how old it feels? How old is that part of you?
Probably about 20 years old. Or I'm sorry. I guess I don't know exactly how to answer that, because I feel like
that part started 20 years ago.
Started 20 years ago.
Okay.
And it's like a, it's grown for 20 years.
Yeah.
But looking back, it feels like it is a underdeveloped teenager who is pretending to be a grown-up but doesn't know
man
how.
Yeah,
beautiful. That's so awesome, man. Could you go to that part as an underdeveloped teenager who sounds like it feels confused, feels scared, if you were to look at like the time in your life when maybe you were around that age, was there anything significant going on in your life that may have been pretty emotional or traumatic or anything?
Yeah. Around that time, I guess it was 13-ish. So it was after freshman year. My parents wanted to move to Florida from Maryland. So we sold the house. We moved to Florida. I had said goodbye to all my friends. I had just gotten established in church. And then I got really depressed. And 2 months later, we moved back to Maryland because I was so depressed. And for the next 2 years, my parents split. One lived in Florida. They were still married, but they split their time depending on who was living down in Florida and who was living in Maryland and where they were working. And so it was like, for a little while, I was living with just my mom, and then I was living with my mom and my dad, and then I was living with my dad, and then living with both of them. And then that was pretty much most of through high school. And then my dad came back and started working full time again in Maryland, I think. And then it all just kind of got hectic again.
Sounds like it was a pretty chaotic time in your life. Not a lot of stability, maybe feeling responsible for your parents moving back and forth.
And my brother went to college that same summer. So there was a lot of
big change, loss. And so this part that you feel shocked and disgusted by sounds like it kind of started for you, started doing what it was doing, looking at porn and women and things around that same time.
I think it got more habitual and stronger after that.
What was it doing for you? Like, what was it doing?
It made me feel a little bit better without having to do anything.
It knew what it was doing. It was trying to help you cope. It was allowing you to have some medicine in the midst of a pretty chaotic crisis situation. What's the emotion that's coming up inside of you right now, Andrew? What are you feeling?
Tyler, I want to add too, maybe a little bit of control, like a little bit of control through that whole tumultuous time. You know, you had that thing you could go to and feel some comfort, right?
Yeah, I mean, I know I'll be the first to admit I don't like feeling out of control. I'm good with like, I don't want something super rigid and super structured, but I also like to have a plan. And so I don't like being controlled and I don't like being out of control.
Yeah.
So I feel, I don't know, I feel sad and I feel, I feel sad.
When you look at the part that we're talking about now, this 20-year-old part, I mean, a young teenage part that's 20 years old now, do you still see it with eyes of disgust and shock, or do you see it in a different light, or could you ask it what it needs from you?
I mean, there's some sadness for it, and there's, I don't know if pity is the right word, but I just regret and I guess some understanding. Like a few years ago, I reread John Eldredge's Wild at Heart book, and the second one, and it always resonated with me that the part that I always felt lacked or stuck in is that I never felt initiated into manhood. And I feel like I had that. I think what was the second stage I think I had, and then that third stage where I was really supposed to grow as the warrior. That's where I feel like I just went down this path and never found myself, never grew up, and just this perpetual adolescence.
Yeah, man. Okay. So, Brandon, you can jump in whenever you want, but I just want to maybe get to one more point here, Andrew, with where I think we're going is that we started this session with you hating this part of yourself. And now you can see with eyes of compassion and sadness, you said pity, that this part of you was actually trying to serve a purpose for you. And it did a pretty dang good job back then. And that you were never, it's caused some problems in your life. It's maybe been in the little bit too much as you grow. Even gratitude for what it's tried to do for you in your life. And if it goes back to the original question, am I just a bad person or do I have an addiction? How do you feel towards this part? Do you still see yourself as a bad person? Or was it doing its best?
I mean, I feel like it did its best at some point, but the past few years, I feel, and I know should statements are not helpful, but I feel like at some point over 7 years, when my wife was constantly asking me, is anything going on? What's happening? Are you okay? At any point during therapy, I had plenty of opportunities to ask for help and to come clean. And I just didn't. I feel like I was in addiction over things that I actually care about. And so I understand. I'm confused because it seems like it has been controlling for so long, and it was my choice. And I want to own up to my choices.
So that's the hard part. This is more that middle ground there is that yes, you did make those choices. You could spend more time with that other part of yourself that made those choices. And I bet you could find compassion for it. And you could answer the question, I wonder why I did that. And there's probably actually a pretty good answer. And it doesn't necessarily take you off the hook from having made the decision and needing to make new decisions in the future. But you can do it with eyes of compassion and trust for yourself instead of judgment that then sends you right back into the same place Brandon was talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hearing on one hand, I'm just a piece of crap who can't do it right, who's broken and not okay. On the other hand, I want to be perfect and want to have like do everything my wife wants in order for her to be happy so that I can be good enough, right? And then there's also this kind of sexual anorexia and this push away from vulnerability going on. And but Andrew, here's the thing. Tyler was starting to get into this with you. The answer to what is real recovery, the answer to how do you find peace, how do you not be controlled by this, is found through your wounds. All right. So you just said it with Wild at Heart, like the initiation process, I only got so far and then I felt like I just went back to kind of being weak. Eldridge says, every man's question is, do I have what it takes? And what I'm hearing and feeling from you is a man who does not believe that you have what it takes. And so we got to go into those wounds. You got to face some threshold guardians. You got to look some beasts in the eye, and you got to step into the caves that you fear to enter. And that's where you'll find out that you absolutely have what it takes. But it requires you to stop running from all the fear, to stop avoiding the fear. And it requires you to actually face those things. So am I making any sense?
Yes. And I guess, I know, right now, sitting here relatively calm, I know what I need to do. And I feel much different this time around than previous, because I think I actually want to really put in some work. I want to try and change. And after disclosing things to my wife, and then I went to confession, because I was raised Catholic. And so I felt lighter, because it was like, okay, now I feel like almost fresh start of I can start honesty and trying to rebuild things. So looking at all the things that were scary and trying to face them down. I'm just not sure what those are yet. And I think that's where I feel that little bit of lack of control of, I don't know exactly where I'm going.
One of your scariest things might be looking at that you are absolutely good, and that you are absolutely lovable, and that you are the man when it comes to.
That's never changed. It's always been there.
I was going to ask you, Tyler. I want to ask you, Tyler, for a second. You talked to Andrew here for a little over half an hour. Is he a good man? Is he a bad man? Because he's questioning, like, maybe this is just who I am, right? Like, what do you?
Right. We're all capable of doing horrible things because we're human, and at the core, we're all good. Everybody is doing the best they can with what they have to work with, and we can all do better. And that's a simple truth. And, Andrew, as you're talking, we're talking about this John Eldredge stuff and what Brandon was saying about entering in through the wounds. And I don't know what to do, and I don't know how to get that, and I don't know how to get initiation. Eldredge says that part of how initiation happens is that when you enter into your wounds, God will father you, and he will father you sometimes through other men. And it may not be a coincidence, depending on how you choose to look at it. And I know some of our listeners are going to think this is hogwash, but you think it's a coincidence that you chose to come on the show today with courage to speak what you just spoke?
To show your face.
To step into that cave Brandon's talking about, and to actually have a conversation, and to have two men here that are looking at you and saying, open your heart, because it's always been there. There are no secret ingredients like Panda, Kung Fu Panda. Like, you already have it built into you, man. Like, you have what it takes. You're doing it right now. You're practicing vulnerability. You're allowing somebody to love you in your current state. Like, you're doing the work right now.
Yep.
This is it.
And Andrew, we got to wrap up. Word of caution. Do not, I say, enter into the wounds to really know. Do not turn to your wife to try to get your masculinity. Do not turn to her to try to get your self-worth. That's not her job. Her job is not to give you your self-worth and your okayness. You get that from God. And then you take to her your strength and your masculinity. And that's how you create connection with her. Okay. Am I making sense?
Yeah. And I think that was for a long time. I got my masculinity and self-worth from other women and that. And so that was definitely one of my negative decisions,
Let me give you an example. It's like what you did 2 weeks ago, where it's like, man, I need my wife to love me, to think I'm good. She's so much better than I am. So I'm going to hide everything because I don't want her to think that I'm bad. Okay. A man who has his question answered, who has strength, can sit in her discomfort and stay honest and stay open and allow her to be uncomfortable, even to the feeling of like, she doesn't like me right now. That's okay. She cannot like me right now, because what's more important is my integrity, my connection to God, and my relationship there. So I'm going to make sure that's intact, and I'm going to empathize and give love to her, but I don't need to get self-worth from her, so she can be in pain. That's okay. Right? So that's how it looks differently. A man who is very codependent and consuming and using his wife is trying to figure out who he is as a man by getting her to tell him who he is. And it's very different. So
can I give you one more challenge?
Go ahead, Tyler.
Oh, go ahead, Brandon, if you want to finish your thought.
All I was going to say is we could go on and on with this. I think
we could.
Andrew, you're hitting right on the things that me and Tyler love to talk about. So go ahead, Tyler.
Yeah, I just, you said something. This is a challenge, kind of a parting challenge for you. And again, you had a lot of questions. We've only scratched the surface. So hopefully we get to hear from you again, Andrew. But as you go through your process, you said you found evidence for 20 years that you suck. And I could find evidence right now that you're courageous and that you're strong and you're valuable. And if you had the eyes to see it, you could see that just as easily as that you suck. you're here speaking something that's hard to talk about. You're confronting your fears. You're going to treatment. You're being humble. You're trying to take a look at yourself from the inside out. You're willing to like step in and want to love your wife. Like, listen
You're
to what you said.
fighting for your family.
I mean, I'm getting emotional thinking about it. You're fighting for your family. You want to be able to be in a spot where you can love and respect and cherish your wife. And you're working towards those things. Like, how come that evidence doesn't pile up as like, hey man, like, I'm a good dude who's got some problems and I'm working on it? Because that's what I see. That's the evidence that's in front of me. And it's in front of you too, if you have the eyes to see it.
Yeah.
So take a look at yourself in the mirror every day. Look yourself in the eye and ask yourself, how is it possible that I am just an amazing, lovable person, a force for good, a warrior, whatever you want to say, and sit and wait for the answer, because the evidence is already there.
Andrew, man, I'd love to have you out to one of our retreats. I think we've sold out. We're pretty much full in September, but we could get a spot for you if you wanted one. So we work on all of this stuff that we've talked about today. That's what we do at those retreats. So, hey, thank you for coming on, Andrew. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks. I'd love to be able to go. Like, I feel when I used to do retreats with church, it was like this huge life altering thing. And I feel like I need some, I don't want to say like restart, some experience, but just, my body, when I feel stressed, craves nature, craves action. And like, we went for a walk this morning by the river, and it was like, okay, I just actually feel some peace now. I love all that kind of stuff, just getting out there and like, just kind of getting after it.
Yeah. Feeling God's love.
Yeah. Well, we would love to have you if there's any way you could make that happen. I know it's tight notice and we are pretty tight. There's just a couple spots left. So, Andrew, thank you for coming on, man. We hope to hear from you again in the future.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
All right, you guys, have a good one. We'll see you later.